Nodes. Nodes in Nuke are stored in this toolbar, and they're all grouped according to their function. You have also this curious little sub toolbar where uh, those same nodes are stored, and also others, more obscure ones, sometimes some experimental ones. Now that same set of menus is here in a contextual menu bar. You have also, by hitting tab, and if you start typing, you can make a node appear. What else? Well, what are nodes? I mean, that's where you find them. What are they? Well, they're many things. Although they are arranged in these kind of groups, there is, I suppose, a, a family way of thinking about them, and that you can group them according to a particular uh, family-based way of arrangement. For instance, you could say clearly that the in nodes and the read nodes and the write nodes, the in and the out, are qualitatively different to all the other nodes, and that they reference outside stuff, outside files. You could also say that such a node as, say, a log to linear node that would convert, say, an image from logarithmic space to linear space. You can call that a utility adjustment. Another example of such a utility adjustment is, say, a pre-multiply that will convert an unpre-multiplied image such as this into a pre-multiplied one. Now you could say of these nodes that they don't change the image as such, not in a creative way, but they prepare the image for adjustment, or they rationalize the image for some kind of creative adjustment. So those are the utility nodes. You could also talk about the adjustment nodes, things like a multiply, which will change its color, or a transform, which will change its position. Now the thing about these nodes is that they perform the same adjustment on the entire image. In other words, every pixel gets treated in the same way. Now that's very different to a more filtered way of thinking, like this edge detect node, which will make adjustments based on particular per pixel values. So it might look at the value of a pixel according to its neighbor, or according to a range or something. So that's a filtered effect rather than just an overall adjustment effect. You've also got if you compare, say, a multiply node to a grade node. Now, a grade node has many more sliders. You can do probably the same thing with a grade node as you can with a multiply node, and you can do a lot more, in fact. You could call a node like a grade node, you could call it a combination node, and that it's a collection of many adjustments all grouped together in one place. Now that there are, you could say, two schools of thoughts. Some people would use, say, many small adjustments like a multiplier and an add, and others would use just one large adjustment like a grade node. There are arguments for and against both approaches. Personally, I prefer using many small adjustments. I think it's easier to read the node tree that way, and it's easier to adjust and make per adjustment changes to the node tree using many smaller adjustments. There are also generative nodes within Nuke, nodes that make things. Now, Nuke is not a maker of things, it's an editor of things by and large. But all editors, you could say broadly speaking that most graphics programs, those 2D, 3D, still and moving programs, either make or edit, but almost all do a little bit of both. And Nuke is no exception. Nuke is primarily an editor, albeit a very fancy one, but it also has a certain ability to create stuff from scratch. And there you have a noise node. Let's just change the turbulence there. So it can make stuff. It can make, say, a rectangle, collection of rectangles there. So quite simple, nothing fancy, but enough to serve your needs. You also have, say, a 3D node. Now that's such a different thing to the other nodes that it's even got a different shape. You know, it's rounded as opposed to the more square node. The 3D strata of a file tends to be parallel to the 2D, and they might merge at certain points, but they cannot inherently mix. Nuke has a particularly good 3D structure to it. It can accommodate 3D work particularly well. It's not a 3D application as such, like Maya or Modo, but it can nonetheless handle 3D data quite convincingly. So there you have it, nodes and a small introduction to what nodes are.